Tonight on Denver 7 News at 6.
Our children being used as sacrificial lambs in the wrong hands of the wrong people.
Lawmakers want to tweak the rules on pot. Dispensaries want anything but.
We do not think it's a smart bill.
Documents provide new insight into the Suzanne Morphew murder investigation.
A report of a stolen car leads to chaos in Inglewood.
You've got one officer that was run over and one party shot.
And Wheat Ridge tries to push panhandlers off the roads. The police say it's for their own good.
Their behavior is not safe for them or the people around them.
Good evening, and thanks for watching Denver 7. I'm Ann Trujillo.
And I'm Shannon Ogden. The State Health Department has found moderate evidence that young adults who use marijuana with a high concentration of THC are more likely than non-users to develop mental health disorders.
Young adults like Johnny Stack. His parents, John and Laura, say he took his own life because of a condition called cannabis psychosis.
We're so angry for living in Colorado that this poison was available to him.
And hearing stories like that, you can imagine why a Colorado lawmaker might want to limit the potency of marijuana.
But the cannabis industry was never going to let that happen. And in all fairness, it doesn't really seem like most lawmakers thought that was the correct route anyway.
So instead, we're getting a compromise, one that Republicans and Democrats can agree on, but that is far less ambitious in design. Denver 7's Ivan Rodriguez begins our 360 coverage.
Colorado's marijuana industry could be in for some big changes.
This legislation meets that trend and addresses the fact that our medical marijuana laws have enabled teen access to high-potency marijuana.
The bill focuses on people between the ages of 18 and 20, limiting them on purchasing more than 2 grams per day. Currently, they can buy 20 times that amount. It also creates a new system to track purchases so people can't just hop from dispensary to circumvent the law.
Those products are then being peddled through a black market on high school campuses across Colorado.
The bill would also require people in this age range to get approval from 2 different doctors from separate practices before getting a medical marijuana card, and would also ask the Colorado School of Public Health to study the effects of high-potency cannabis products on young adults.
And we do not think it's a smart bill. We think that this is something to discuss, but not something to approve.
Rita Taluk owns the coffee joint and Yuma Way dispensary. She's against any attempt to force her business to repackage marijuana into much smaller amounts.
We're already trying to eliminate waste as much as we can, and it's going to create more waste. It's going to have more labor, more room for mistakes, more things to track and to regulate.
But for a mother who witnessed her daughter survive the effects of high-potency cannabis, the regulation is needed.
Of our children being used as sacrificial lambs in the wrong hands of the wrong people without any regulations, without any responsibility.
But with so many items in this bill, it leaves some wondering about those who need high-potency pot to survive pain from a medical condition.
We all agree that we want the safety. That is something we agree on. But this bill is not about safety. It's everywhere. It's about limiting medical patients. It's, costing more goods, to the business. This is bigger than safety.
For people in need, legislators say their access to medicinal marijuana won't change.
For the 0 to 17 population, for the kids who have moved to Colorado, who are working with their parents to make sure they have access to their medicine, we want to make sure that they continue to have access.
A conversation that has been years in the making, at the forefront of potentially shaking up a billion-dollar industry. Ivan Rodriguez, Denver 7.
And if passed, the legislation will find its way to the desk of Governor Jared Polis, one of the most pro-marijuana leaders in the country. And we reached out to his office for comment on the legislation, whether he would sign it as written. And a spokesperson didn't answer that last part, instead telling us, quote, "We appreciate the sponsor's dedication to this important issue and the thoughtful work that has informed these discussions. We look forward to working with them and are hopeful the final bill balances the issues raised by the proponents with patients and industry needs."
And now we want to hear from you. Would you prefer lawmakers push harder to cap THC limits? Are you happy leaving them where they are? Do you have concerns about this particular plan? Let us know, please, on Facebook or with an email to 360@thedenverchannel.com.
The wife of a small-town police chief says he punched her in the face, strangled her, and threatened to kill her family and himself. Log Lane Police Chief Joshua Katz was arrested by Fort Morgan Police on Saturday. Katz claims the injuries occurred during consensual sex. He's charged with 2nd and 3rd degree assault as well as domestic violence.
Newly released documents show investigators believe Barry Morphew killed his wife Suzanne on Mother's Day 2020 or the day before. They also believe he tampered with evidence up until March of this year. Morphew is also now charged with trying to influence a public servant. And those public servants include agents with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, an investigator with the DA's office, an FBI agent, and a Chaffee County Sheriff's deputy.
3 police officers were hurt and a suspect was shot dead in Inglewood today. Police are investigating a stolen car at an apartment complex off East Girard Place when they say the driver hit officers and dragged them. Officers fired into the car, killing the driver. A passenger was taken into custody and the officers will be okay.
Loveland City Manager will update council on the Karen Garner investigation tonight. Now, 3 officers have resigned. An attorney for the Garner family believes the police chief should also step aside. We're going to have what happened tonight on Denver7 News at 10.
The FBI is now investigating the murder of Maggie Long as a potential hate crime. Park County deputies say she was burned alive after interrupting a burglary in December 2017. Investigators will not say why the case is suddenly being considered as a hate crime.
The whole Bailey community has just wanted more transparency from the police department or from anyone who's gathering information, because it really just feels like we're getting half the story at most.
Police released photos of 3 suspects all the way back in January of 2019. A $75,000 reward is being offered for information that puts Maggie Long's killers away for good.
A misdemeanor charge has been dropped against one of the protesters who shut down I-25 in Colorado Springs last summer. Molly Avion had been cited for obstructing a highway, but Avion says police never told her to leave, and a judge later concluded the statute used to arrest her is vague to the point of being unconstitutional, so the DA's office will now appeal.
Wheat Ridge police don't want to get rid of panhandlers, but they do want to move them. Denver7's Gary Brode explains.
Me, I'm only $20 short for my room, that's it. So I'm trying to get $20 for my room and then I'll be good.
Each car that exits I-70 onto Kipling is another chance for someone like Ken Johnson to make a much-needed buck.
Look how many people are out there, you know what I mean? It's pretty crowded. I haven't been able to find a spot yet.
It's that overcrowding, especially here off the highway, that has some drivers concerned.
When I get off that exit, it's like watching a drunk guy chase a balloon on the edge of a cliff. You got to slow down and really be cautious, you know what I mean?
The city of Wheat Ridge and its chief of police have taken notice.
Of course, keeping people out of traffic. I mean, that just screams that there's a future fatality or serious injury coming our way, and we're trying to avoid that, be preventative.
Within the last year, 5 pedestrians were killed in Wheat Ridge. That's more than double the city's average. Combine that with an alarming national trend.
Nationally, we've seen an uptick since 2015, and we're seeing that sort of mirrored here in our own little way in Wheat Ridge.
The city is currently drafting 2 ordinances to cut down on crashes. One would make it illegal to occupy a median. The second would prohibit panhandling on highways as well as the on and off ramps.
We want to see people being responsible, and sometimes we have to take a step to make sure that everybody is responsible. So this is a step in that direction.
As it stands, the ordinances could mean a fine or possible jail time for anyone not following the law.
It hurts your pockets, considering I don't have, much money right now.
But Chief Murtha looks at it as a possibility for education.
That ultimately brings them in front of a judge, and that may not be the first time, but it gives the judge an opportunity to talk to them and try and convince them otherwise that their behavior is not safe for them or the people around them.
No date has been set for when City Council will make a final vote on the ordinances. In Wheat Ridge, Gary Brode, Denver7.
Governor Polis has joined the push to preserve a Japanese internment camp as Colorado's 5th national park. Located in the southeastern part of the state, Camp AMACHE was an unwanted home to thousands of people during World War II. In a letter to the National Park Service, Governor Polis says that protecting the site would allow us to interrogate our past and understand a more complete story of our nation.
Well, Colorado continues to outpace the rest of the country in coronavirus infections. 730 cases and 10 deaths were reported by the state today, and our positivity rate is above 5%.
14,000 Coloradans received their first dose of the vaccine today. Another 18,000 hit fully immunized status. 2.3 million Coloradans are now inoculated against the virus.
And I do hope you'll join me on Thursday for a town hall on teenagers and the vaccine. Governor Polis and leaders from the state health department will be on hand to answer your questions about the shot, its benefits, who's requiring it, who's not, the whole enchilada. So tell us what you want to know with an email to 360@thedenverchannel.com.
He has a gun pointing straight in my face.
Coming up, a carjacking leaves a Lakewood woman in a bad way.
It's beating me down.
Only a few more hours of showers, then some sunshine and warmer temperatures coming up.
And the Avs beat the Blues in more ways than one to start the NHL playoffs.
Obviously, I'm going to stand up for my teammates.
Get live 24/7 news, weather, and more anytime you want with Denver7 Plus, and it's all free. Denver7 Plus is local news whenever you want. It's always on, even when other local newscasts aren't. Plus, watch Denver7 weather 24/7. It's like having a weather station in your home. It's local news, plus weather, plus entertainment, plus more, and it's all free. Denver7 Plus, you're in control.